If you're new here, welcome to Your Somatic Life, Love, Leadership and Legacy. I'm Sam Ricks and I help high-achieving women like you break free from self-sabotage by bridging the self-healing mindset and business success, because your mind and body are your strategy. Let's get into it. The power of our feminine cycles. For me personally, this was hugely powerful in terms of helping to gain more control with my reactions, emotions throughout the month, and being a lot more aware of how my own energy changes, how it shifts. And then on top of that, not just knowing how my energy was changing in terms of my hormones, but also how productive I was at different times, which tasks actually suit other phases better. And once I had learned all of that, I was able to then plan my work, my life, everything around those weeks. How many of us feel guilty for resting and taking a break when we really need to? When I fully understood why I was feeling low, why my energy had shifted, I was able to let myself rest guilt-free because I knew why it was happening. I'm going to go through the 4 different phases and talk to you about some of the different energies that you can feel, what it links to with the seasons and the mood. Everything is connected, ladies. We know this. Everything is related. So the first phase is our new moon phase of energy. And it is known as the season of winter. Phase 1 in the feminine cycle, the new moon energy is the season of winter. This is our menstrual phase when we are bleeding and letting go of everything. If you are still experiencing your periods, this is very relevant. If you are not, this is still very relevant. Many women feel like because their periods have stopped, their cycles have stopped, as a feminine woman, we have our feminine and masculine energies and our cycles happening all the time, regardless to whether we are having our periods or if we're in premenopausal, perimenopausal or menopausal. You are still going through a hormonal cycle. It's worse when you are shifting into menopause, so it's even more important. These phases are even more important. It does not matter whether you are bleeding or not. Phase 1 is our menstrual phase, and this is when our energy is very feminine and we're very reflective. It's a good time for reflective work on yourself, a good time for sitting back and seeing everything as a much larger picture. You may feel passive in your conversations with other people. You might feel withdrawn. You might not feel like you want to socialize. This is a time when we are deep into intuition. Our subconscious energy is very high. If tapping into your own self-awareness and feelings of intuition when we're actually on and we are bleeding, this is a great time to have that introspective work on ourselves, and just sitting with a book and reading and getting so much from a book and just learning from other people. We can also feel very creative in this time. You might feel like you have a sudden urge to write during this week. I hadn't realized that my energy for writing went along these same phases. Letting go, renewal, and retreating. So letting yourself rest. So that's phase 1. And we move on to phase 2, which is the season of spring in our waxing moon phase of feminine energy. So you can connect the energy that you feel to the different phases of the moon as well. If we're in phase 2, this is known as the maiden. This is our follicular phase. Our energy is rising, again, heading towards the next phase 3. We're moving back up from a period of release. We might be feeling dynamic, we might be feeling active, we might have a lot of clarity around our ideas, our concentration is on the way back up, and we're probably feeling very independently physically strong. You'll probably notice in phase 2, after phase 1, you feel like looking after your body more and your thoughts are really clear. This is great for analyzing and learning. This is great for booking appointments. If you are running your own business or if you're employed, it's really good to put a lot of your to-do tasks and things that you want to get done for the month in this week. Very good for planning. Then we move on to phase 3, which is our summer season, the waning moon. This is our mother phase, and this is when we are ovulating. We are producing a lot of estrogen. Our estrogen in phase 1 and 2 was like this. Now we are at the peak of ovulation, the peak of our estrogen, a lot more testosterone, although we have a lot more estrogen as feminine women anyway, but we have a lot more of both. And this is when we're going to be feeling very outgoing and very sociable, very outwardly focused. And we're going to be wanting to make those connections with our friends and our families and in our businesses, wanting to book in those calls, those speaker events, meeting new people. We have this rush of energy in this third phase. Our communication's going to be clearer. Because our communication in this phase is really good, we're able to listen with a lot more empathy because we have that energy back and the estrogen is helping us feel empathy with other people. If you know in your life that you have things that you do want to communicate and discuss with people, this is a really good week to plan in those things. Have you ever thought about a conversation that you need to have with a loved one and thought about your energy at the same time and when it was a good time for you to have that conversation? Or have you ended up just having the conversation because you knew it needed to take place, but you were perhaps in your phase 1? For us as women, when we are reflective and we're letting go and really taking it some heavy introspective work, it's probably the worst time for us to be having those kinds of conversations. I had never, ever thought about my conversations and relationships in this way until now, and then thinking, okay, how am I feeling? Where are my hormones? Where am I in my month? And planning our communication and relationships around that. This third phase of the waning moon is perfect for this. We're going to be feeling a lot more emotionally connected because of that, to ourselves and with other people. This is a great phase for writing. If you are a writer and you love writing, this is a great phase for writing. Then we have our 4th phase, known as autumn, and the full moon. If you are interested in mapping your energy around the moon cycles and you love moonology or you're interested in it and you want to read up more, this is the phase of the full moon. We are the enchantress in our feminine energy. This is the sexy week. We are in our luteal phase. We are the wild woman, the premenstrual week before we move back and our cycle starts all over again. We have a lot of creativity, a lot of activity, a lot of imagination. We have increase in our subconscious awareness again. We're probably very good at problem solving in this phase. And we're good at being quite assertive as well. Our energy is very assertive in this phase. We're heavily connected to being able to ask for what we want. We are at our spiritual height, but also we're starting to want to nest because we are moving back into the beginning of the cycle again. What's happening with our hormones here? We've had a huge dip from phase 3. So we knew phase 1 and 2, estrogen and testosterone was moving all the way up to its maximum. And then as we get to this week, in actual fact, the estrogen is all over the place, but has dramatically dropped. And it's our progesterone that is at its peak, which is why we feel so horny. So this is our general cycle of our feminine energy. And the practice of being really connected to your feminine cycle, it's called cycle syncing, and syncing your life to these phases. Now, let's deal with the frustration if you're employed. I'm going to speak about both employment and self-employment because we have different types of members here. The frustration of not being able to call in sick and take that week off when you're in phase one and you really need to have that break and you can't follow your body. You do feel like I wish I could just call in. I just want to take that time off. And when we're living in this state, that's really easy to carry that energy through your month and just always feel that way. We do need to plan in that rest and that time that we need in phase one when we do actually have to physically go out and work. Now, the reason why I bring it up is it's much easier for a self-employed person to work around these cycles and to sync it with your energy. So you can plan to do all of your networking and meetings when you know you are going to be moving into the third phase of your cycle. Okay, I do know we need to work on the frustration if you don't have that flexibility. When you don't have the flexibility, where can you give yourself that time and that rest? What I love about this is it's not finite. It's an example of how our energy shifts through its natural cycle. When you start learning to recognize your energy and pinpointing it to these different phases, you become a lot more aware of your body's own natural hormone cycle. This is incredibly important for women who are heading into menopause because you don't have your bleeding to signify anymore. It's much harder to identify where you're at because you generally, even if you're not very regular, you generally have your period to remind you, oh yeah, it was my period. How many of us? And I've talked to many of you time and time again about our memory. Our memory is so poor. We can't even remember what last week was about. And very often I've heard myself say this. I've realized it's not until I've actually got my period, I realized that's why I was feeling that way yesterday. Because we forget. So if we map and plan to these phases, even if it's just an approximate idea of how we may feel and shift, we learn to listen to our body. We learn to hear our body's cues and its signals and how it changes and how our energy dips and how it rises in the month. So when your period isn't there anymore, or for example, maybe you might be taking the pill and you don't have periods, you learn to listen to your body's natural signals of your own energy anyway. You don't need to have the bleeding to help you do that. You may experience it with many other symptoms, the headache, for example. Many other ways our body will show us it's time. We are moving into a new phase. So start mapping it out and just make little notes to notice how you feel throughout your month. If today's episode resonated with you, don't let that insight stop here. Transformation happens when we take action. I've put together some of my best tools and resources to help you break free from self-sabotage and step into aligned success. You can get instant access just by subscribing at samanthajricks.com/subscribe. And if you loved this episode, make sure to hit follow so you don't miss what's coming next. And I'll see you soon. Take care.